So if you have not watched the first part, go back and take a look at part one for this one, because it talks about the different types of procrastination, and we're focusing on the latter four. So just so you know, there's six different types, and we're focusing on the latter four. So let's take a look. Okay, so before I actually dive into it, I wanted to show you guys what this actually kind of looks like for us in a funny way. And I love showing my kids. This is digitally baffled. And this is a great example of what a lot of us rely upon in order to get things done. This is called deadline mode.
The deadline approaches without mercy, and I stare at an empty screen.
We procrastinated for too long, and now we suffer.
Yes, thank you for the reminder, Brain. Now, can you do that thing that makes us do all the doings in the last minute?
Well, in that case, I must activate deadline mode.
Yes, deadline. Well, I'm typing again. Oh, it's like magic. Oh, oh. Ah, right. Ah. Deadline mode saves us once more. The deadline.
Okay, so that's deadline mode. So I want you to imagine for a moment that there is this task that we have to do, right? And let's say that this task is like hang on, let me try that again, is a light bulb in the middle of a room. Okay, so here's my little light bulb. And part of our overwhelm, and it's all emotional dysregulation. All of this is emotional dysregulation, is that this light bulb feels very, very big, right? And so because it feels very, very big, some of us will simply freeze. And that is, I cannot do this thing, whatever the thing is. And it might be that the thing is not a singular thing. It might be all of the homework. It might be all of the cleaning. It might be all of the daily sort of, monotonous tasks that we have to do is this big old light bulb in the room that we're avoiding. And so for some of us, it's going to be, here's my little bug, an avoidance issue. All right. So my little bug is kind of like, I'm aware that there is things that I need to do, but I am just literally going to like look over here and pretend that it doesn't exist until it becomes so bright and overwhelming that I can't ignore it, right? So this light bulb becomes like so massive that I literally, my entire world is now filled with it and it's become a crisis for me, okay? So that's one of the things that we might do, and that's that functional freeze. And all of these have to do with fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, all right? The other thing that sometimes happens, and this is deadline mode, is that we will purposefully avoid the light, right? We're all flying around in our little world and like doing our little thing. We will purposefully avoid the light until we get to the point that like we can't avoid it anymore. And we wait until the very last minute in order to create this urgency. And the urgency allows us to motivate our brain into slamming into this light bulb, right? We get it done, but we get it done in an emotionally dysregulated state. And here's the thing, when it comes to procrastination, this can be something that is actually effective for a lot of people, and that's why it's dangerous, all right? Because it can become super effective for us if we wait until the very last minute and we are rewarded with that by being able to complete the thing at the last minute over and over and over again. So say, for example, that the thing that you're trying to do is an essay, right? And you are putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then finally, the night before, the day before, 2 days after, we sit down and we crank out a 7-page essay in a state of cortisol-induced anxiety producing pages, and we get an A on it. And the system that we are in currently, and when I say system, I don't just mean school systems, I mean all systems, right? Hustle culture is real. Capitalism is real, right? The system that we're in rewards this behavior. And that is fine until. At some point in time, this light bulb that we are slamming into is not actually a light bulb, it's a bug zapper. And we get zapped. right? And so what does zapping mean? It means that there was some unintended delay that caused us to not be able to get the thing done in the time that we thought we would. I was going to do it the night before, but my computer broke. I was going to, work on it and crank out 7 pages in 3 hours, but I was so tired that I fell asleep, right? So something will zap us, right? That's one of the things that can happen is that we can zap because of unintended or unforeseen delays that come up, right? That can happen to us. The other thing that can also zap us is the actual burnout cycle. So hang on one second, I'm just going to save this really quickly. So let me show you what that looks like. So the burnout cycle looks like this, okay? We get into this state of like high energy frenzy and we get the thing done, all right? We can oftentimes recognize our potential burnout, like, man, this is really hard. Like, I've got so much stuff going on, and I know that I need to do that paper, and I know that I need to do that math homework, and I know that I need to clean my room. I know that I need to do that big task, right? And I can feel it, but I have relied upon this state to get things done so often that I don't know what to do. And so we get into this feeling of burned helplessness and we are rhythm cycling, right? And then once we burn ourselves out, now we're forced to rest and recover. Now we are in a state of, I don't want to do this anymore. So if you've ever been in the middle of, like, let's say in high school, it's like around usually for most kids, it's usually around October, November, or in the second semester, it's usually like around April sometimes. Could be like February, where there's not enough break and there's just a whole bunch of work. Like the bulk of the work of the semester takes place at those two times. And so, because of that, you cannot rest and recover. And because you cannot rest and recover, you get a flip the table where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't care if I fail. I don't care. I'm going to fail anyway, so I don't care, right? So it's just like I'm flipping the table, consequences, be darned. This is how I'm going to live my life now. Like I'm just going to be the kid who didn't do well in school, right? Okay. So, oops, wrong one, sorry. Where'd you go? Do 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 do. I had it a second ago. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So here we are, we're back at our little bug, and they are slamming themselves into this light bulb over and over again because of deadline mode. All right. The other thing that can sometimes happen is that instead of actually doing the thing, we'll do everything except the thing, right? And that's a fawn response. The fact that we're doing that is a fawn response. So here we've got our lightning bug. And instead of actually writing the essay, they're doing a whole bunch of research. They're going through and maybe they're organizing all of the files on their computer. So I can't do it right now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in a second, right? This is where the perfectionist starts to come in. This is where the worry wart comes in. I'm going to do it in a second, but before I can actually concentrate on this, I've got to do all of these other things, right? I've got to organize my papers. I have to, take care of my notes. I have to organize my files. This is when you need to clean your room because it's become overwhelming. And instead of actually cleaning your room, you decide that you're going to organize all of your shoes. So this is fawning. And this is you sort of flying around everywhere except for the light, right? So instead of doing the task, you're doing everything but the task. And these are all different versions of the same emotional dysregulation that has to do with the fawning response. So let's talk about what the fawning response is. When we're talking about the idea of emotional dysregulation, there's a few things that we can do to manage our emotional dysregulation that are not healthy. It means that our brains have gone into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So fight is part of the, deadline mode. That's the burnout cycle. All right. Freeze is when we like can't do anything. I know that I need to do the thing, but I can't get myself to get off my phone and actually do it. Right. Flight is when I'm avoiding it. And that avoiding means that that could be anything from like I'm literally not in the space that I need to do it to I am purposefully leaving my things at school so that I don't have a way to actually access it. And it might be subconscious. Like you may not realize that you're doing that. Your brain just may be like, no, we're not taking that stuff home. And then fawn is where we can get into this trap of perfectionism, aka I know that I need to do the plan, but I can't do the plan. So this is a form of fawning and kind of freezing.
We completed our break and now must actually do the plan. Remember the plan we
Oh,
made.
yeah. It was a good plan.
What does this plan demand of us, Brain?
Well, according to my brain manual, let me just see if I can find the page right. Oh,
Go on, do tell.
the plan requires effort.
Ah! Effort, you say.
Yes.
This revelation. I find it disgusting. We completed
Okay,
our break
so
and
shush you. Again, that's digitally baffled. So this is the fawning. So this is, I have the plan. I've spent hours doing the plan. I'm going to do the plan. But before I can do the plan, I'm going to do everything but the plan. And this is also a form of perfectionism, right? And all of these are states of emotional dysregulation. So now that we know there are states of emotional dysregulation and we can recognize the different forms of procrastination, now what do we do with that info? So let's go ahead and we're going to do that in the next video.